I feel dumber and dumber every time I research anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we've touched a little bit of base on that before, but never dove into that specific part of it.
I mean, I wouldn't mind diving into the Palestine thing. That wouldn't bother me, but
It won't bother me either.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I don't have enough information to dive too deep. I mean,
that's the point.
Yeah.
Because you don't really have a ground to stand on. It's like no one does. How can you?
No. Well, I do have a ground to stand on. Let's not kill kids and women.
That's great. It's great.
Yeah.
Or do you want to talk about something different? What do you want to talk about?
Fuck it, run it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Refined Life Podcast. I'm Big Vinny. That's Jeff Suter, and right here is Jared Blake. We're here to have a great time today. We might talk about some really hard and deep stuff, and we want to make sure that that's the way you like it. Because if you don't like it that way, too bad. We're going hard and deep. Let's go. Jared, kick us off.
I don't. With that intro, I'm not sure what we're talking about at this point. I feel like the subject may have changed.
No, we're going to be deep.
Gotcha. All right.
And it might get hard to talk about.
So
what was you
They
thinking?
might or might not like it.
What was you thinking?
I don't know, man.
Weird?
So Suter and I were talking about earlier. There's so many things going on in the world right now that annoy me. And at the same time, I don't really understand why they annoy me because they're just stupid. It's just people not knowing what they're actually talking about and just mouth it off. I mean, there's so many subjects out there that I don't remotely know how to chime in on because I don't have the time to actually study it and figure it out. And I'm not dumb enough to believe some post that I saw on TikTok.
You know what the weird thing is you don't have time to study it. So you keep your mouth shut on this situation. That's the weirdest thing I've ever heard.
I know, right?
Because you're ignorant to the situation. You don't know the facts. You don't know what's going on. So you're like, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't talk about that.
Right. So I don't talk about it. Now, it doesn't mean that I don't still think something in my head and kind of have an opinion on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But my opinion usually is very loosely based on going, okay, well, this and this and this, and that kind of makes sense to me. So I guess I'm over here on this.
Right.
Until you actually have information. But then if you come at me with information that you can't actually prove, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, well, I saw the TikTok. I saw this on Instagram. Yeah. Like, and even if you say news at this point, I don't believe you necessarily. I mean, like, because you just flip 2 stations over and you find a whole other news channel saying something completely different.
Yeah.
Than what got said.
And I think we've talked about that some too when it came to like anything from the old jab or whatever, you know, where it's like, okay, I heard this and this and this, but all these people over here said this. Well, then I have a friend over here that this happened to, and you're like, okay.
But there's always that one guy going, no, that information you heard, that's incorrect.
Yeah.
This information is correct.
My favorite thing is
why is this one correct and this one's not correct, and how do you know that?
My favorite thing is when it came to the jab anyways, and I know we're going to talk about way deeper stuff than this because that jab's only like this deep. But I had a girl that worked for me. She was an Olympic level gymnast. She got the shot, and then she started having all these complications in her heart. Well, she got myocarditis or pericarditis, one of the two. But she got one of the carditises, not the Kardashians. Similar thing, but they will all break your heart. But she gets the myocarditis or pericarditis, whatever it was, and it was a sac of fluid around her heart, and she wasn't allowed to get her heart rate up, and there wasn't really a whole lot they could do about it. And they're like, "You're just going to have to wait till it goes away." And then she got it like literally two or 3 days after her first round of the Moderna shot, and they're like, "Oh, it had nothing to do with that." She's like, "I've been an athlete my entire life. I'm an Olympic level gymnast. I've never had this issue ever." Literally, the only thing that's different was I got this shot that I didn't think that I really needed to get, but I had to get it for work. And now all of a sudden, I'm not allowed to get my heart rate up. I have to like stay at a certain thing. She wasn't even allowed to make love to her man, you know, because it couldn't risk the heart. And they're like, "Oh, it had nothing to do with the shot." And now, obviously, it's come out that it's proven that it did have to do with it, but we didn't know. I mean, like one minute you're watching a guy on TV, it's like, "Oh, it's perfectly fine. Nothing bad's going to happen." The other guy's saying, "Wait a second. I'm the guy that created the mRNA, you know, thing, and something bad could happen from this one. So hang on before you do that."
So with that,
screw that guy. He's a nut job, you know.
With that, I mean, that's a great example of it because I still look at it and go, I don't know if the jab is good for you or bad for you.
Yeah.
And I'm not a doctor. And even if I was a doctor, I'm pretty sure I still wouldn't be able to figure it out.
Well,
I don't know.
You
And
do know.
So why?
You do know personally that the Johnson & Johnson was not good for you.
Well, no, hang on. So there's still people can battle anything, but
Right.
what's amazing is all the people that would battle you on it know jack shit about anything.
Right.
Like it's literally no doctor has ever challenged me on my beliefs. It's always some dude that he's a meat
Facebook
guy,
reporter.
right? He's a meat guy at Kroger or something, or some chicken college. Like those are the people.
Remember the song "Got Doghouse"?
The song guy, right?
He got so mad at me. He's like, "You didn't get the shot." I'm like, "No." He goes, "You're going to be a super spreader." I'm like, "Did you get the shot?" "Yeah, I got it." Then you should be okay.
Should be good.
You should be
Right,
fine. But I'm like, but when I told him, I was like, the reason I didn't get it is because A, I don't think I need it. 2, this girl, who's a really good friend of mine, she got it, and this happened. Well, they haven't proved that that's what caused it. I'm like, I mean, process of elimination would say that most likely is what caused it. I was like, but if you need more examples, my buddy Colt Ford got it, and now he can't see out of his right eye, and he has a rare autoimmune disorder that you've seen. I mean, he can't even hardly. He can do stage.
But once again, the crazy thing is like when you start bringing up things like that, then someone will bring up something else in the opposite way. They just keep bringing up things. Why we can't all just accept and go, hey man, there's a lot of crazy shit going on both sides of this.
Oh, absolutely.
Can we just all go, I don't know?
Yeah.
And so this week, for example,
I don't know. I just go off of facts.
Yeah, so one of the
what
smartest
facts?
guys.
That's the thing. How do we find the facts? I don't even know anymore. I can take an educated guess at something.
My facts on what I was saying, the reason I didn't want to get it is because I had 2 friends that had real life things that happened to them, and really 3 because yours was the Johnson & Johnson. You got 16 blood clots. You thought you were going to die.
Yeah, that's because I was getting older, they said.
Yeah. Wow.
Everything.
No, at one point, didn't they blame it on your
changed.
motorcycle wreck from 5 years before that?
Dude, they blame everything on everything.
Yeah. All I'm saying is this. I made a decision based off the education that I was able to have from real people that took real-time things that happened. Not from an article I read on TikTok or that I read on Google or, because you go research something, you normally research, prove to me that the COVID shot is okay. And they give you 50 articles that say, oh, yeah, it's okay. Look at all these people who said it was. But if you said, show me that the COVID vax is not okay, then you get 50 articles that say why it's not okay. So it's like you didn't do any actual research. When people say, I did the research myself, I'm like, but your only way to research is to get the information that somebody's going to feed you.
But hang on, even in that, though, are you actually reading it? Because this was one of them that recently...
I like to listen. Can I listen to something?
So this is one of that hit me the other day because someone said to me, hey, have you seen how many celebrities are speaking up pro-Palestine? And I was like, seems like an iffy spot for a celebrity to be in. I don't know that I believe that. I mean, maybe a couple people are, but I don't believe hundreds of these.
Yeah.
And
I
so
would think if maybe if they were.
So I look it up and see all these articles, all these celebrities that are supporting Palestine. And so I thought that's the way the headline read, at least. And so I started reading. And they were showing like Kim Kardashian's tweet, Justin Bieber's tweet, Chris Pratt's tweet. And it was really Chris Pratt's name because when I saw his name up there, I was like, there's no way that Chris Pratt put out a tweet that was like, hey, I want to support Palestine. So that's what got me to read it. And read all these tweets, and not a single tweet supported anything. Every celebrity in that entire chain that said these celebrities support Palestine all said this. It all had something to do with like, it's a shame what's going on. My heart and prayers go out to both Palestine and Israel. And it talked about, like how war was never great, and how all these bad things happen in innocent lives, and family members, and it sucks. But it was in no means supporting either one of them. Yeah. Not a single tweet that they showed. But the article read, these celebrities support Palestine. And I thought, how many other people are just reading headlines and going, well, that's what it is. That's what it is. So you're not fact checking. You're not even reading the article to find out that wasn't even in the article.
Well, and then the headlines that they write now have nothing to do with what the article is actually about.
And why is the headline there? It's clickbait. It's just to get you on that page.
Yeah, because then it adds all the cookies to your page, and then they follow every move you make on your social media for the next thing. But but that's the thing is like when you think about it, war is hell.
What is it good for?
Water isn't good for absolutely nothing. But the
I
problem
was
is
waiting for that.
when you literally get into the war. So say, Palestine strikes, Israel. Now Israel strikes back, but you strike back and you hit a hospital or you hit a place where kids are at. Now you kill these kids, or just say you killed their parents. Now that kid that you killed the parents of is going to be is
Angry.
going to hate you forever because you messed up their entire life. And it was one of the interesting things I think we've talked to a lot of guys that go over to war, and one of the guys that I wrote with for the Creative Vets, he said, "Man, he goes, you know what the crazy thing is they all think they're the good guy too." And that really hit me hard because I was like, man, that's true. He said that. So the first one I ever wrote with, he was watching this guy that was kind of a known leader or whatever, and he was Overwatch, and he watched him for 2 days while they were waiting for the convoy to come through, and he watched him, and he probably a mile away. I don't know how far away the snipers sit, but he watched him be a dad, watched him play with his kids, and eat dinner with his wife, pray with them, all this other stuff. Watched this for 2 days. Well, the day that the convoy was going to come through, him and both his sons, probably 12, 13 years old, they go up to the top of this rooftop, and they get in place to start firing down, Now, he doesn't know. He said, man, he goes, I don't know if they're actually going to pull the trigger and fire in there or if they're just watching in case something happens. He goes, I don't know that. But what I do know is it's my job to make sure they don't get a chance to squeeze off that trigger and fire into my brothers.
Yeah.
He goes, but as I'm sitting there and I'm watching them through the glass, and that's what we end up calling the song is Through the Glass. But as I'm watching them through the glass, he goes, for the last 2 days, I've watched them be a family. And now I'm sitting there thinking, I'm going to have to take all 3 of these dudes out. So he ends up having to. They come in, they got their guns laying down. All 3 of them, 1, 2, 3, takes out all 3 of these, the dad and the 2 kids because they were getting ready to fire down, or in his mind was getting ready to fire down. Well, now that woman that's down there in the bottom of their house is without her son and 2 kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the thing he goes, man, it was a catch-22 for me. It's like either I don't kill them and they kill my brothers, or I do kill them, and then I have to live with the fact that I killed. I mean, that's why I think for snipers it's super hard, especially because they know they watch them and pick them off. But I think it's a different scenario than when you like, oh, there's that guy, he's a terrorist. I'm gonna take him out from a mile away. Bam, you take him out. But when you've watched him be there with his family, and you've watched him be human, and you've watched him be in that, I think that just makes it so hard for him. And when I talked to him, he had become a real bad alcoholic, and he said, yeah, every time I get to the bottom of my whiskey glass, it's like looking through the scope, and then I have dreams and all this stuff about it. And he said, but you know what the crazy thing is they all think they're the good guy too. And that really hit me because I never thought of it. Like, I've always been like, hell yeah, let's kill them. We're pro-America, and because I'm a patriot and I love America. But I also look at it from the standpoint of like the way I view myself as a Christian. I was born into a Christian house. I was raised in the church. I was raised as a Christian. I believe it with all of my heart. Nothing can ever change it no matter what. But in the same sense, that guy that was born into a Muslim family or Islamic family, which I know is the same religion, but I'm not real sure the difference between Islamic versus just Muslim or whatever.
Right.
And I know there's extremists on every side of religion, but they've been taught that from their mom and their dad and their grandma and grandpa and both generations on both sides and both, so trying to convince them to not be what they've been taught their whole life is pretty much impossible, right? I mean, you're not really going to win that. But all you can do is just be a good person, and because we all think we're right? We all believe that we are the right, that we know the Messiah that was sent here to die for our sins. I believe it with my whole heart. Nothing will ever change it. But the same conviction I have of that guy has about what he believes.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that backs up to exactly where we were on things, though, is that everyone always believes they're right.
Right.
So where is your compassion and our thoughtfulness to stop and go, hey, maybe I'm not? Then I have to look at, like, I could be completely wrong about my views on God. However, I'm not hurting anybody in the process.
Right.
I'm not telling people that they're going to hell. I'm not shooting anyone or hating on people. So what I'm doing isn't harming anyone else. Yeah. So, but what we're doing as society right now is we're talking crap about everybody.
Yeah.
About stuff that we don't really know.
It makes me think, you can't. I don't remember who it was that said this, a preacher a long time ago, but he talked about having faith in God and believing. He's like, you can't believe in something you know. He's like, because if you know it, then you know it. So if I said to you, what's your name? What's your name?
Jared.
Do you believe that, or do you know that?
I know that.
So you can't believe that your name is Jared if you know your name is Jared. Same thing. I think if you believe in God, you always have to have that, like, you don't know because you believe. You have faith in the things that you can't see. you know, the things that you can't necessarily feel, you know, like when you say, well, if God's real, he'll blow over, blow over this, you know, box right now. And then all of a sudden the box blows over and you're like, oh, it was the wind, you know. But you believe, you know, you believe that God is there and you believe that Jesus died on the cross for you. You believe those things. You didn't see it happen with your own two eyes, but the story's been passed down for 2,000 years and you believe it. And you know, obviously you felt conviction. Obviously we've all seen miracles happen. We've seen people be healed. We've seen things happen. And we believe with all of our hearts that that's Jesus Christ, you know, and that God is stepping in and not interfering, because obviously he can't interfere with free will, but he's offering that healing because he's not done with your journey here yet. And I actually saw Shannon Lawson, you know, posted a thing today. He was talking about how he wanted to start living his last life. And he was looking at it from this perspective of he was put here to do God's will, you know, and that he was here to live out a life that God had put him here for a reason to do that. And I think once you put it in that perspective, you're like, man, my calling here is higher than just, you know, come here and be a good guy and just make it through. You know, it's here because you're probably going to affect somebody's life. I'm sure that, you know, I've seen Jared speak to crowds of kids and change a kid's life. Does it change it today? Does it change it tomorrow? You know, we know he's spoke with a kid that ended up becoming an air traffic controlman. You know, we've talked to kids and gotten them to where they were able to get out of the situation they were in their house and were able to bring light to those situations. I think that's a beautiful thing. And I think that God gives us all a calling. He gives us all talents and different things that we use for that. But with that being said, he also wants us to be compassionate and to understand that, you know, and I put this in my phone the other day. I was at church whenever on Sunday or 2 Sundays ago when they were preaching about it. But I love this verse because it says, John 15:12, this is my commandment, that you love one another the way I've loved you. That was in the red letters. That was Jesus talking directly. Like, this is my commandment. It's for you to love one another the way I loved you.
Those sort of verses are what I live my life by, because I go, I can't judge anyone else because I can't figure out how to get that one right yet.
Yeah.
I can't move past that one yet. I'm still just trying to do that. But I think that's what you've kind of gotten off now is it's a whole other episode within itself. I think Jeff tried to chime in a couple times when we were talking about the whole idea that there's so much information out there. How I don't understand how someone can just stand firmly and scream at the White House or scream about the president or anything. Where do you get this information? I mean, how do you know that your information is true? And did you look up the definition of the words before you said it? Genocide? Really? Biden? We're going to charge Biden with genocide? I'm not a fan of Biden. You guys know this, but like,
I didn't even know that was the thing we were trying to do.
Oh, dude, that was the whole the Palestine pro people, whatever they were. They're chanting. We charge Biden with genocide. We charge Biden with genocide.
They've been at the doorstep of the White House for a couple of days now, I think. Right?
Oh, I think it's closer to a week now, right?
Yeah, I mean they've been up there. We were having a conversation before we started rolling, and
are they all in jail yet? Because all those guys from January 6th are sitting in jail.
Well, they didn't go through the doors of the White House. They're just out there, so they're fine.
What was it?
Yeah.
Well,
there's still some stuff that has happened where if you look at it side by side, it's definitely not being treated the same. In
I had some friends that were worried because they have kids or people that live up in Washington. A good friend of mine was actually talking to me about it 2 nights ago. I guess for me, it's like I don't know enough about the situation to have a full on opinion. What I do know, and I said this earlier, is I don't want to see women and children being killed. I don't want to see kids getting attacked while they're sitting at school trying to have a day. I don't care if it's American kids, Palestinian kids, Jewish kids, Arabic kids. I don't care who it is. I don't want to see. Kids are there trying to live a life and learn now, and then all of a sudden, bam, a bomb comes through and kills half their classroom.
Well,
I don't want to see that.
No one is, but you don't have to know much about it. You can just look at it and go, I'm listening to you. I don't hear you saying much, and you seem to be very angry. Therefore, there doesn't seem to be anything here. But like, what were you saying about?
So let's rewind back before they attacked Israel. Right. Nobody really had an opinion.
No.
At all. And now all of a sudden, a lot of people do have an opinion. And the question I would pose to them is, prior to this happened, if you're offered an all expenses paid trip to Gaza,
wow,
are you going?
Yeah.
And if no, why not? And if yes, you're an idiot. Most likely. I mean, I don't know. I've never been.
I mean,
I'm just making a broad assumption. I doubt I'm going.
But you probably would have taken an all expenses trip paid to Israel.
But here's
absolutely, I'd go to Israel.
Yeah.
Here's how little people actually knew about it. How many times have you heard people call it a country?
Yeah.
It's not a country. So that's how little you know about this, and you're talking about this as if you know something. But you're absolutely right. Who was going to take that trip? You know, how many people would even know what that was?
I mean, I don't really like leaving Tennessee. So
and then furthermore,
Memphis.
Furthermore, when we start looking,
good point.
When we start looking at a group of people and we go, this is not okay the way this group of people is being treated. Why are we so quick to forget we literally just pulled out a Bagram and let it return to exactly what it was before we left there?
20
Women
years,
and children
years.
being kicked out of school, raped, killed. So it's so weird to me. It's like, so we're just going to forget about that one over there, and then now we're on to this new mission that you know nothing about. At least there we knew a little bit about what was going on. We'd been there for 20 years. We understood a little bit, and now you're just on this whole thing. And anytime, man, like one of the protesters the other day kept referring to Martin Luther King, and I was just like, clearly you haven't read what this man believed.
Clearly.
Because he was a Baptist preacher, which is about as hardcore of preachers as you get out there. And I was like, and everything he said was in love. Everything he said was in love, and he finished off every speech and everything he did surrounded by Jesus.
Yeah.
This was the point of it.
Yeah.
And you're standing up there misquoting what this man said, because if you weren't misquoting it, you'd have a Bible out there. Because that's the only way to really quote Martin Luther King, because that's what he did. You know, and he was big on peaceful protest. And when you watch the way this new movement of people, I see a whole lot of talk, very little action. And they think their action is, no, we're getting together and we're talking. Okay, cool. I'm going to go feed this homeless kid over here. Tell me which one works out better.
Yeah.
I'm going to go actually get my hands dirty and take care of some people.
Yeah. I'm going to do something for real.
And you go over there and scream about some people you don't know anything about in another country.
We're going to go feed.
Good job,
We're going to go feed 1,000 homeless people this week, you know.
I mean,
you know, and like I said, I don't have a full recollection of everything. I do know that, you know, obviously Israel, that what's considered Israel now is considered the Holy Land. I know that the Palestine versus, you know, Israelites, whatever, they're both fighting over wanting to have that land as their holy land, correct? That's kind of the gist of how it all works out. And then that was actually taken from them during, the 60s, 70s, in one of the wars. Like, we kind of went in and said, no, this is Israel now. Like I said, I don't know the history of it enough to argue that. But
there's a lot of history. The war's been going on back and forth
even
for a long time.
But like I said, it wasn't even called Israel until recent, right? It was... I'd have to look it up. I'm speaking off of, like I said, limited knowledge. But I do.
That's the point. There's someone out there listening that's that part of me. Like, see, they don't know anything, but neither do you. Go ahead.
And if you do,
tell me what you know.
Tell me, because I just want to know. Like, when I watch the news, all I see is the hate-filled stuff of which I quit watching the news a long time ago. But when I see stuff on my TikTok, I see if it's somebody that's pro-Palestine, they're like, oh, they're doing this and they killed it and they did all these. And I'm like, dude, I don't like that at all. But then when I see the same thing with Israel, hey, we were asleep and all of a sudden these guys started floating in on dune buggies and killing all of our women and children. I'm like, I don't like that. I don't like either one of those things.
Yeah.
So and of course, you know, I understand retaliation, but I'm also like, hey, let's stop killing people for a second.
The unfortunate
and let's figure
side
this thing
is
out.
I think, again, if you believe what you read in the news, regardless of where you read it, Hamas is hiding behind the women and the kids, right? Like their main resource is underneath the hospital in Gaza.
Okay.
So unfortunately, that's what they're hiding behind, which is why some of them died.
Well, and like I said,
I'm not saying that's.
But
what
now
we want.
is Hamas? Is it a religion? Is it a terrorist organization?
They're technically my understanding, because I'm like you, limited knowledge. They are the people that came in and have taken over and are the quote unquote government
of Gaza.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
or Palestine.
Palestine, yeah,
whatever.
Yeah, one of those things.
Yeah.
I forget what I was going to say now.
Well, I got a good one for you while you're thinking of it. one thing that did blow my mind, just because what I do know about, especially Islamic, kind of culture, whenever I started seeing gays for Palestine or trans for Palestine, I'm like, you do realize they would stone you to death, right? Like the Islamic extremists would.
Well, it's weird because the group that
You're
you're talking about wants to hate on Christians because Christians don't agree with their lifestyle necessarily. And it's like, but you're mad that someone doesn't agree with your lifestyle, and those people will kill you.
Yeah.
Over your lifestyle.
Yeah. They'll bury you up
to,
they'll bury you up to your waist in the sand and then throw rocks
But then
at you
someone else will look at you and be like, no, that's not the way it is. Really? Have you been there? No. How could you possibly? So that's where I back up. This is what I was going to say earlier. Like, why do we? And
obviously, we know that's not the total of everybody that's over there. It's just the extremists that.
But why do we not give our veterans any respect to listen to what they have to say?
Right.
Why is it that you, who's never been out of this country, even let alone into the Middle East, into a war zone of any kind? Why are you not listening to every veteran that has been there? Right. When those veterans come back and they go, hey, this is what they believe and this is what they want to do. America goes, no, it's not. Really? Why would you? How?
You know what's crazy?
How can you be so arrogant to believe you think you know something more than someone who just came from there?
But even with that though, it's like even the military guys that I know, they all have different experiences because they're going from one kind of life that they had here, however they were raised, wherever they were raised. They go over there and they're, obviously we're fighting for our country and all that kind of stuff, or we're in the process of helping this or helping that. And then some of them get over there and they're like, no, I think these people are right. And the other one's like, no, I think I've seen it to where you talk to
you totally can, but that's my point. That's my point.
What I'm
if
saying
you
is
haven't been there and done that, shut up. You don't know anything. But let the people who've had something to do with it
I've talked to two different guys that were in Vietnam, and one of them was like, dude, I loved it over there. He's like, it was great. And it was this and this. And he goes, I'd go back, I would have went back again if they'd let me, And then I talked to other guys like, man, I hated being over there. I hated everything we did. It was a nightmare. And you're just like, wow, you can have two people live the exact same thing, but take it two completely different ways, which is why I think in our, religious culture in Christianity and whether it be Christianity or Muslims or anybody, even especially when it comes to Christians and Muslims, we believe in the same God. Like the word Allah means God, right? So we believe in the same God. Our argument and our wars and our everything is over who we believe the Savior is. I mean, and like I said, limited knowledge here, but that's the way I take it. Like, we actually believe in the same Almighty God, but we think differently on who was the one that was sent here to be the Savior, like the Son of God. And I'm just like, I don't want to kill nobody over that.
No, why would you?
But it's amazing.
Well, I don't want to kill anybody unless you're trying to kill my family. That's a different thing. Only route. But still, I still go back to this entire nation right now. Why does everyone feel like they need to have an opinion on everything? Why would you not go, clearly, whoever just came back there, I'm going to listen to what you have to say about that. Oh, you're a doctor? I'm going to listen to what you say about that. I mean, it's not like Jeff isn't going to call me up and be like, hey, Jared, what kind of guitar should I get? And then I tell him, and then he goes, nah, I think I should get this guitar instead. Why do you not just trust other people that have something to do with something?
I had a similar situation. Literally, right before I walked in here, I had a similar situation. A guy, music industry stuff, and never been in the music industry, but he's managed other things. And he's like, yeah, he goes, but I know how to do this because I managed this and this and this. And I'm like, completely different business, bro. Like,
right.
Obviously, you understand how to manage time and you understand how to manage budget, but you don't understand how to manage the relationships that you need in order to make things happen.
Okay, so I'm going to throw one out that will probably get me a lot of hate. If you can make a statement like, I don't have the right to say anything about abortion because I don't have a vagina, why can't I make the statement that you can't say anything about war if you've never been?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I mean, someone's going to hate me for it, but why are we so opinionated about things that we haven't done anything with? If you've read something in a book that gives you this much knowledge, go actually do it. Be involved in it, and then tell me what it's like.
Yeah.
I don't want to have a contractor build me a house that's never built a house, but he read about it.
Yeah. Well, or the same thing happens with personal training. I meet people all the time. These people that have I have this certification, that certification, this certification, that certification. They're 22 years old. I'm like, how many people have you worked with that had two hips replaced? Well, none. But I was like, okay, I have, and I know that you have to look at their range of motion. You have to look at how everybody's joints are differently, the way they're shaped, the way that their ankle mobility, their hip flexibility, like all these other things. You're telling a guy that he needs to squat all the way down and touch his ass to grass on the squats when his hips won't allow him to go no lower. It's like,
I'll give you one. Like, so my brother talks about this all the time. He's a doctor. And he's like, people will come in with their kids. And he was like, and you'll be like, yep, he has the measles. And they'll go, that's not it. I'm sorry? Why did you come here then? Why would you come here? And he's like, they'll come in and diagnose their own kid, tell me what it is, and then when I go, that's not what's going on.
Maybe you forgot about this little thing called WebMD.
Right. They'll bring up things. He's like, yes, whatever you looked up on WebMD, surely as good as just as good as the 8 to 10, 12 years that I spent learning about the human anatomy.
Hey, I did this to my doctor whenever I came home, and when I went to the doctor, when I came home from auditioning for Dumb and Dumber 2, I went to the doctor because I had something wrong with my leg, and I get in there, I was like, it's a hernia, no big deal. I just need to get it sewed up and get out of here. Super Bowl's tonight. She goes, don't think it's a hernia all the way down there to the left side of your sack, because it was on my leg, but it was like right beside my balls, and keep that on there. But it was this big old knot, and she was like, it was a girl.
That was one of your balls.
No, it was bigger than those. And literally, she's like, I don't think that's what it is. And she's like, I got an idea of what it is, but I need to test and do these actual factual things to learn what it really is. She goes back, it's like an hour later, they've run all these tests. She goes, yeah. She's like, well, what it is for one, you're diabetic. And I didn't know that at the time. I was like, oh, well, that sucks. She goes, yeah. She's like, so we're going to have to get you on a diabetic diet. I was like, okay, cool. So I just got to get on a diet and everything will be fine. She goes, no, we got to take you back for surgery right now. I'm like, surgery? For what? She goes, well, what you got in your legs called cellulitis. If you'd have waited 2 more days, it probably would have been gangrene. I was going to wait 3 days. She goes, if it got to gangrene, we probably would have had to cut your leg off and possibly the other stuff that is beside that. So it's a good thing you actually came in today. And I'm just like, listen, WebMD, you told me it was a damn blame hernia. Matter in hell at WebMD. But they took me back there and gave me surgery, and I was thankful. And then I'm just going to let y'all know this TMI, but when you get a surgery down there, buy you stuff, and they pump you for all this IV and all this fluid and stuff, your balls swell up like this big. It's no joke. They swelled up to being like this big. If you're not watching this, just know it's like they were like
it's like a watermelon.
You have a little small watermelon. I mean, a big watermelon. This is big. It was huge. But this is no joke. They swelled up, and my buddy Moon, we get him to tell the story sometime because he come in to see me at the hospital, and he goes, Vinny, is what, my ex-wife, is what your ex-wife, is what Lori said true? I was like, what? He goes, she said your balls are bigger than 2 softballs. I was like, man, they're huge. He goes, I got to see them. I got to see them balls. So next thing you know, I showed him my balls. Anyways, back to the story over here.
I don't know.
I have so much to say right now, but it's
I'm the comic relief. Go ahead.
Go for it. Because
I don't know why I got off on that tangent, but it was fun.
No,
Anyways, the cellulitis went out of my body.
Someone's going to comment and be like, no, balls don't do that.
I know from experience. 100% fact.
I don't know, man. I just, like you said, it's weird because, like, over the last 2 years, I found myself getting so irritated at all the people talking about things that they can't possibly know.
Yeah.
Right? And then this morning, maybe yesterday morning, in traffic, it kind of all came full circle for me because some of the devotionals that we've been doing, it really had my mind thinking about things. And I pull into the turn lane to turn, and this guy immediately gets in the turn lane, and he's in the turn section, though, but he's going that way. He's trying to get into traffic, right? So he's not supposed to be there, right? And I see him and realize he's not moving, so I go back into my lane and pass my turn. The guy behind me immediately slams on his horn, and then he rushes around beside me, and he's giving me that look like, ooh,
And then he saw you, and he's
completely
like, oh,
oblivious to the fact that, like, had I not done what I did, which didn't bother him, by the way, I just moved out from in front of him and then moved back in front of him. There was no swerving. There was no, like, him slamming on his brakes.
Just being courteous to the guy that was out in the
I just moved, and had I hit that guy, most likely my truck would have spun out to the side. That guy would have rear-ended me. He would have been in a wreck. So he doesn't see any of that stuff going on.
Right.
He's just mad because you moved and then you moved back. I don't even know why he was mad about it, but he was,
I was on the phone with you.
And, my first thought was like, it pissed me off. And then I thought about it and I was like, man, I woke up in a really nice house this morning with a beautiful wife and a family that loves me.
And a dog that loves you.
I just did a devotional before I even started my day. And that devotional got me in that mindset of realizing like everything that God had given me and just how blessed I was just to wake up the person that I was in the beginning that I had nothing to do with.
Yeah.
I was born in America with talent, with drive, ambition.
Stunning good looks.
Well, at least Mark Wahlberg good looks, somewhere in that range.
That's pretty stunning.
Actually, that's pretty cool.
You were just gifted these things. And the only thing that's been in my way is me. I just get in the way sometime of whatever those gifts are, right? And so I was thinking, like, I don't know what this person's going through or what they've been through or what kind of life they have, but I know what kind of life I have. So I really have no reason to be angry today. And even if I were to let this part bother me and I ignore all the other blessings in my life and I was like, I'm going to chase this guy down. When I get out of my car, he's probably going to get back in his. And if he doesn't, and he goes toe-to-toe with me, even if he kicked my ass, if it went that far and he kicked my ass, you can't really kick my ass with a guy like me. Like, you can beat me in a fight, but if I felt like I was standing up for what I believed in, then that's what I did. You could get more licks in on me. I could be bloodier.
Well, if he starts licking you, I'm going to jump in.
You know what I mean? Like, whatever
that's
happens, I was just standing up for my beliefs. So realizing like God gave me gifts and a mindset that the only person that can beat me is me.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well,
and
God
so I have
God didn't give you that
reason
mindset.
to have
What he did was
fear.
give you enough experience that you developed that mindset.
Well, I mean, he gave me still the talents and I
Absolutely.
was just born a certain way, and you utilize those. So the only thing that can hurt me is me. And I got to thinking about like all these people that are commenting online, posting crap, talking crap, and saying illogical things. I don't have to be angry about any illogical thing anymore because whatever you're saying is not going to affect my life. It's not going to change anything. Ultimately, if somehow you figure out how to take away everything I have here on earth, I still have God and I still have peace, and this too shall pass. And
you still got Nemo.
And if you cut my head off tomorrow, I'm just going to die and wake up in heaven.
Amen.
That's the worst thing that's going to happen in my life.
Bam.
And if I'm wrong, it was more peaceful on this journey thinking that's what was going to happen. If I die and that's just all there is, well, then I'm...
You don't even know. You wouldn't know otherwise.
Yeah, that's always been the conversation I've heard people have.
If I wind up in hell, I'll just be confused. Like, this is the worst heaven ever.
Yeah.
This is not what I was promised.
Yeah. This was not on the brochure. I'm not the girl on the flyer. She's not the girl on the flyer. We had a joke.
We go to this casino boat and play, and they would always put up these the flyers and the billboards on the way to the casino. It was always like these hot girls that were like there, and then you get there and you're like, that girl's not here. That girl's not here. That's not the girl on the flyer.
Yeah, same thing happens in Vegas.
That one is much hotter.
The guys are out there flipping those cards at you. They're like, you look, you're like, oh crap, that girl's gonna come to your room. Don't ever order them. She's not the girl on the flyer.
I don't have that experience. But
Me either. I just heard. I don't know what you're talking about. Anyways, I'm going to Vegas this weekend. I'm actually excited about it. By the time this episode comes out, I'll already be in Vegas, but. I would have already. Well, I guess this would be our episode. It'd be coming out Monday. So,
dude, listen. Like, I know you know a lot more of these people, but you should tell the people who's he going to be out there speaking with, because this is a big deal.
The two that I can name right off the bat are Tucker Carlson and Brad Lee.
Yep, and RFK Jr.
Oh yeah, RFK Jr.
Which is like huge. Charles Payne from Fox Business. Bradley's, of course, my one. I'm trying to get him to set me at his table so I can work our way into the podcast here.
This is what's crazy.
But there's so many more. I was like, there's Bill Walsh. There's a bunch. It's going to be awesome.
This is what's crazy to me about all that is that, you said Tucker first, and that's a name that pisses a lot of people off.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're out there, I want you to think about this, really. You can dislike any of the people that he just named off, but have you ever been on stage with those people? Have you ever been invited to an event to speak alongside those people? Dude, I mean, like, it's crazy. Once again, like, we're so quick to hate instead of celebrating someone. Like, that's amazing. That's freaking incredible that you get to go do that.
It's been cool to see, because I did the post yesterday, and I haven't got one kind of hate email or anybody, because
you do know your fan base, right?
Well, I do know my fan base, but I also know
rocking the beer gut, bro.
Listen, I know that, but I also know whenever I posted the Jason Aldean song, the Small Town, Try That in a Small Town, I had somebody literally send me a message like, instant block. I can't believe you're this kind of piece of racist trash.
Right, but now they're gone.
Oh yeah, no, I'm better. I was like,
I'm saying, like, they can't hate on you. They block you.
My favorite thing to do is send that meme from Tombstone where it goes, well, bye. When somebody sends me something like that, I'm like, well, bye. But
someone says that to me, I didn't see it.
Yeah, but it's been cool to see even some of my friends who I know lean the opposite way have sent me like, dude, that's awesome, congratulations. So it's been cool to see that. Be the response to it. And I'm sure that maybe there's other people that are like, oh, I can't believe that. But
dude,
but to me, is like the way this whole thing happened, the guy that puts on this whole thing, it's called the Risk On 360 event, he's a guy named Todd Alt. In a million years, I'd seen this guy's stuff and didn't even know that I'd seen his stuff. And so, when I saw him, he looked familiar, and he was in the crowd at Shiners when I was doing the Shiner show. I was playing Mason Shiner. So he's a big old dude. I mean, he's probably 4 or 5 inches taller than me, and, big old guy, burly guy. And I saw him, I'm like, I'm bringing him up for the part where you're the, because, and if y'all haven't seen the show, go see it, and then you'll know what I'm talking about. But anyway, so I bring him up, and we hit it off, and he was great. He was funny, and, he goes back. He had a big personality. We get done, we go downstairs. We always go down and hang out with everybody that comes to the show. Well, literally, I get down there, and he comes over and starts talking to me, and we start talking back and forth. He's like, man, you're really talented. I'd love for you to come play one of my events in Vegas sometime. I'm like, heck yeah, man. I love Vegas. I'd love to come out there. He goes, cool. He goes, well, we'll get my information. Well, I'd left my phone upstairs in the dressing room. I was like, well, I left my phone upstairs. Let me run up and get it. He goes, I'll add you, and then just add me and send me a message on Instagram. So I'm like, okay. So he added me. Well, I, sit there and had a great conversation. He told me, he goes, yeah, I manage a money firm, blah, 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 and goes, got like 17 other businesses that he didn't mention. But, so I go up to the, deal and get my phone before I leave, and I get to the parking garage, and I was like, oh yeah, I need to add him. So I added him back, and then I looked at him. He's got like 1.9 million followers. And then I start looking, and he's got him speaking with Bradley, and him with, he did a whole thing with Trump the last time Trump was in Vegas, like all this other stuff. I was like, who the hell is this guy? You know? And I start looking him up, and he owns a Formula One race car team. Oh. He's like, multi-bazillionaire, and so I send the message, and he sends me back a thumbs up. I'm like, hey man, it was great to meet you. Love to come out and play one of your events or whatever. And I was like excited about it. Send me the thumbs up. Didn't really hear nothing else from him. Literally, we go out to film the music video for Battleground. Get out there, and I'm talking to my publicist as we're waiting. I'm talking to Brad Taylor's my publicist, and I send him a message. Send him a message. He goes, "Yeah, call me." So we start talking back and forth. I said, "Dude, I met this guy the other night." I was like, he was just really a nice dude. I was like, big old guy. I said, he's a big money guy out of Vegas, apparently. I said, and he told me he wanted me to come play one of his events. I said, I got to figure out how to get his actual phone number. I said, because I just got his Instagram. I said, his name is Todd Alt III. And he goes, literally, my publicist, who's in New York. This guy's in Vegas. I'm in Nashville. There's 8 billion publicists. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's not 8 billion because there's only 8 billion people in the world. But there's all these, in a million years, he goes, Penny, I represent Todd Alt III. I was like, oh, there's no possible way. Of all the people that are out there, you could possibly, he goes, no. He goes, I'm serious. He goes, you know what's even crazier? I'm like, what? He goes, I'm literally getting in my car, or my Uber, because he's in New York, and headed to go have dinner with Todd right now. I'm like, dude, that is impossible. He calls me about 15 minutes later, puts me on the phone, and of course, Todd has no clue who he's getting ready to talk to. He goes, who's this? I'm like, it's Big Vinny. He's like, I don't know a Big Vinny. I was like, it's Mason Shiner from the Shiner show the other night. He goes, get the F out of here. There's no way. There's no way. I was like, yeah. He goes, how do you know Brad? I was like, he's my publicist. He goes, he's my publicist. I said, yeah. He goes, that's just too wild, man. I can't even believe that that's even humanly possible. What is the chances of that? It's got to be so slim. And he goes, well, I'm going to get you out to one of our deals. And I was like, yeah, man. I said, I'd love to come out there. And I said, he goes, yeah. He goes, I'll fly you out there to be part of it and all this. And I'm sitting there thinking, I said, well, I really hope he does, because he's probably excited right now. I forget about it. About a week later, I get the call from Brad. He's like, "Hey, are you available the 18th and 19th, or the 18th, 19th, and 20th to go out to Vegas and be part of this event?" I was like, "I sure am." He's like, "All right." He goes, "Well, I got you paid." He's going to actually pay you to come out and speak and tell a little bit of your story. He goes, "As I got to tell him more about you, he was excited about having you out. And so he's going to actually have you on the panel to speak about overcoming adversity with a couple other, folks that have been through similar stuff." And I said, he's going to put you on the panel, and then you'll be part of the Diamond, dinner club every night and all this other stuff. And I'm just like,
hell yeah.
Dang.
I'm jealous. Are you?
I was so pumped up, and don't get me wrong. I feel like I deserve to be there, and I'm still honored to be there. I feel like I have a compelling story that will help people in life. But, it was a little bit like, dude, I want to be out here these guys are billionaires. And I'm going to go out there and be talking to probably people who are millionaires and giving them life advice. But I started to realize that my life experience and my worth isn't wrapped up in how much I'm worth, or how much
Absolutely.
I make a year. It's wrapped up in the fact that Jesus has given me a story to tell that could help other people, and I had to go through a lot of things in order to reach the place where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
And I've overcome a lot of things to reach the place where I'm at. And if I can teach people to have the mindset that I have of like, wake up every day. Every time, like you said earlier, every single time you wake up with breath in your lungs, you have the opportunity of a lifetime.
Yeah.
And we was watching, it was Brad Lee, who's having it on one of his podcasts. He looks at the guy, he goes, "If I told you today I'd give you $10 million, would you accept it?" And he goes, "Heck yeah, I'd accept it." And he goes, "But what if I told you that if I gave you 10 million, but you wouldn't wake up tomorrow?" He's like, "No." He goes, "So what you're telling me is that just simply waking up tomorrow is better
That's powerful.
than $10 million, worth more than $10 million."
Yeah.
And that resonated with me, because I'm like, dude. And then, like I said, every day you wake up and you got breath in your lungs, you got an opportunity of a lifetime. Because the guy that didn't wake up today, no matter how much money he had, no matter how many cars he had, no matter how much anything he had, he didn't wake up. It's
a good way for you to avoid imposter syndrome when you get out there, is having that mindset.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people suffer from that.
What does that mean?
Imposter syndrome, like you don't belong.
Oh, you feel like you don't belong?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. Wow.
Yeah. You just asked, are you a little bit jealous about this? And I think a week ago I would have said yes. Because as this was going on, it's like, that's an incredible opportunity. Like, not jealous in a bad way, but you're like, I want to do that too,
I want to be there with him.
Right. I did offer y'all part of my bed. Okay.
But the thing that's really...
No, I offered y'all, and then y'all turned me down. Then I offered your wife.
Okay. Sorry.
The thing that really has been resonating with me here lately, and it seems like every devotional I do, everything that I notice that God kind of works with me in seasons. Like, there's a certain thing that he's like, I need you to understand this. And it's like everything that comes in my life keeps going back to that subject. He's like, I need you to understand this. I need you to understand this. And the thing that I feel like he's needing me to understand right now is to expect God. And I had called you about this the other day. Expect God. So I've been really looking at all the different times in my life that God has shown up in major, major ways. Like when you said, what are the chances? The chances are really easy. It's God.
Yeah.
He's God. Like the chances are real, real good.
Yeah.
So if we believe as Christians that God can do all these things, and we believe that you're waking up every day and going, God, how can I be of service to you?
Yeah.
Why are you not expecting him to show up today? If I were to go, you know what? I think God wants me to build this water park for kids. We're talking about like $5 to $10 million, right? Well, where am I going to get $5-10 million? Why would if I honestly, truly believe that this is what God wanted me to do, why would I not expect God to show up? This was that whole thing that Steve Harvey talks about, like, why are you depending on God to fix your $500 fix on your 1996 Corolla, but you won't pray for a Cadillac? Why do you think there's a difference? And he's like, it's the same thing of like looking at your kid and your kid going, hey, can I have $1 versus a nickel? You don't care if it's $1 or a nickel. If they ask for a nickel, you're like, I wonder why he didn't ask for $1. Like, it wouldn't have mattered to you, And so and I think people get confused because I don't think that you pray for these things from God. But if you're waking up and knowing that you're trying to answer the call of God, why are you not expecting him to show up in amazing ways over and over and over again? And if I'm honest with myself, when I look at my life, there's so many amazing things that's happened that I'm like, That was God the whole time. I don't know why I don't expect that it's going to happen today. You know, and I don't know why there's any fear or worry or doubt in me anytime. I don't know why I've ever put stock in how much I make or how successful I am as an artist or this or that. None of it freaking matters, man. Like, none of it matters. And if
I think that's also a great thing to just go into when I do go out there. I'm just going to be me. I'm wearing the overalls. Because at first I said, maybe I should get a suit or maybe I should. No, I'm going in overalls. I'll wear a nice shirt like I do when I'm on stage or whatever.
I'm not going to lie. I have been looking up dressy overalls.
My wife did the same thing today.
You know, like, I wonder what kind of overalls are out there.
Because I don't know,
suede or something?
God's plan for this whole thing, it might be to go out there and put me with some people that can, continue to help us increase the things we're doing. Maybe it's part of, something to do with this. I don't know what it is. But I do know that as long as I go out there and be myself, that whatever I'm supposed to be out there for will happen. And I believe that God will put me in the place. Maybe it's just going out there that I'm going to speak to somebody and they're going to start believing in Jesus.
Could be just changing one life.
Yeah, it could be.
And that's a great way to end this podcast too. If you're out there, wherever you're at, wherever you're going, you don't have to believe this. It's just what's been working in my life and his life and his life. If you wake up every day and ask God where he wants you, he will put you where he wants you. And if you don't like where that is, talk to him about it. Just ask him about it. It's so much. We just sit in this spot and we're like, why am I here? Maybe you're supposed to be there and you need to figure out why. Or maybe you're not supposed to be there.
You need to
figure out why you're there and get out of it. Yeah. But, man, this is a great podcast. I'm glad we had no topic when we came in today.
I love it.
It's been awesome.
Heck yeah.
You want to close this out?
With that being said, it's time for you to go follow, share, like, give us 5 stars, give us reviews. Make sure the reviews are good, too, because I know where you live. I don't know where you live, but we got IP addresses. And IP address is almost the same thing as email addresses, phone numbers, and blood types. So we'll be coming for you. But if you don't want to do that, that's fine, too. Just tell all your friends about it, and all that good stuff. Anyways, we love you. This is the Refine Life Podcast. We're out here to refine your life, son. Woo!